This is a view of Santiago de Cuba from the vantage point of Puerto Boniato, where to the right is the harbor, and as the eye moves to the left, one can see the city and the surrounding area. This picture was taken in November 2014 as Elaine and I traveled to the island where I grew up, and Mom and Dad served twice as missionaries. What I want to do is take us back in time to 1943, when they first went to Cuba and began a ministry that has stood the test of time, and then bring them to the present. They began their mission in a house on Corona Street, and here you see the Sunday school they started there. From this humble beginning in a rented house, they shared the gospel and dreamed of a permanent place of worship. This picture is of the barrio Santa Barbara, where Dad found a lot and planted the first Church of God in Cuba in 1943. This is from a photo from the newspaper of that time. Here Dad stands with some of the Cuban workers. This is Mom and Dad standing next to Bessie Hargraves, that was visiting the church from the U.S. This is a picture of the Sunday school more than 50 years ago. This is a picture in about 1956 after Dad had built the two-story 12-room addition to the back of the original church. It has been a struggle, but loyal Christians have kept it as a church all these years under the communist Cuban government. In this picture, you can better see the building Dad added in the mid-50s behind the original sanctuary built in 1943. This is Brother and Sister Daniel Morales, current pastors of the church, and he is the overseer for the island as well. He grew up in church since his father pastored the church in El Cristo and then the one in Santa Barbara, Santiago de Cuba. Daniel had a vision of what God wanted to do on that corner that Dad started so many years ago. Here we see work has begun on the renovation of the original sanctuary in the late 1990s, where the front, left, or street side and near walls were removed along with the roof so it could be expanded. This is a picture of the balcony as it was being built. The next two views show how the new sanctuary was being attached and matched to the two-story construction of 55-57. The two-story section became the pastor's residence shortly after we left in 1960. Here we see the new sanctuary from the outside as it was attached to the newer building in the rear. Now both buildings are massive concrete and brick structures. The old and new parts were melded into a single unit tied together with tile along the bottom and the same color paint. The artist depicted the story of creation and the Bible under the second floor windows. I was privileged to share during both Sunday morning services with the 600-person congregation, the Reverend Daniel Morales shepherds. I encouraged them to know about where they had come from and about the people that had begun the dream so they would know who they were and where they were going. This is a picture of my younger brother Jim and I in front of the house we lived in for 3 years in the barrio Santa Maria. We are facing the house that now looks like this in the next picture. The part on the left has been added and the roof used to be clay tile. This part to the right used to be a single-car garage, but now has been converted into a house. This man, Francisco, or Pancho, was a boy just older than I back in the late 50s, and the house we lived in was built by and owned by his father. He now lives behind that house or in or near the house he grew up in, and two of his brothers live in other houses back there also. He remembered Jim and I and our sister Sylvia. He remembered she was a great baseball slugger. We all played baseball in the field in front of the house, and that is where I learned to play and love the game. Later that day, Monday of the week's visit, I received another awesome gift and surprise when two of Pancho's brothers found Daniel, the pastor of the church that Dad built, and he brought them to me for a visit. Alcides on the left and Gil on the right. These three boys were gifted athletes. I couldn't have scripted such an encounter and blessing to have been reunited after 55 years and listened to the impact that our family had on their lives.